The December 2024 core algorithm update has been released. Google is notoriously known for doing a core algorithm update like either in November or December. This year they seem to have done it both in November and also in December as well. So they done one just after my birthday, 11th of November, and now they've also done one 12th of December 2024. So I'm going to be going over a few things that you should take into consideration prior to making any changes or when you are actually analyzing any websites as well. So just as a rule of thumb, what you want to do is wait out until the core algorithm update has completely finished. Now, the previous one did take 23 days and 13 hours. I'm going to take a wild guess and say this might take either 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. But the biggest piece of advice I can give you guys is just wait it out. Don't make any drastic changes. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of website owners that I have spoke to in the past have went and made some crazy changes. They might have done some content pruning. They might have done a disavow. They might have completely changed their website architecture, right? And just because you might take a slight dip in day 2 of the core algorithm update, by day 25, let's say, you might actually see some positive jumps. So don't take any drastic changes. I actually have mentioned this multiple times. Every single time there is a core algorithm update, I mention this, so I feel like I am repeating myself, but it's very, very important that you actually take a note of that. Do not take any drastic changes. So now that you guys actually know that, let's actually take a look and see what Google also recommend, because they've actually updated this page here as well. So how core updates work, if you don't know about this, basically throughout the year there are a few updates that Google do to their search engine. What you need to remember is that Google, their core focus is to provide the most reliable result when it comes to searchers. That's their basic job, right? So if there are a lot of spammy results, they basically do a core algorithm update to basically try and get rid of the spam and push any high quality websites that deserve to rank higher up on to page 1. That can also target certain demographics, so certain geos. It can also target entire websites or individual pages as well. So for example, if you have recently in the past month, let's say, updated a few pages and you didn't really see any jumps, now might be a good time that you might actually see some jumps up. So then, one way to think about this, right, we won't read this entire thing. I won't just bore you to death on that. So let's say, for example, if your website actually has dropped in traffic, I'll give you the quick rundown of what Google also mentioned, but I've also got a entire article. I think this is like 2,500 words. Based on what you should be doing if you have lost positions. But this is what Google recommends. So confirm that the core update has finished rolling out, like what I mentioned before. Wait until the core algorithm update has fully rolled out. Do not make any drastic changes. As you can see here, the start date was December 12th, 2024 at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. And it's still active, right? So once it's obviously closed, it's going to go to green status. Compare the right dates. We recommend waiting at least a full week after a core algorithm update completes before analyzing your site in Search Console. After a week, try comparing this week and a week before. This is exactly what I mentioned in the November core algorithm update, right? So you can obviously do this with Google Search Console. You can also do this with Ahrefs as well if you want to take a look at your competitors. So one thing you can actually do is go into Keyword Explorer. Let's fire in a keyword like best. We will do best CBD pens, right? Now, one thing that a lot of people don't do is look at the position history. So, as you can see here, right, these websites all basically started ranking, or a few websites here, not all, but a few websites like this website here started doing really well after the November core update. So they were position 6. In October, they were literally nowhere to be found, right? So they got position 6 in November, round about the core algorithm update, and now they're position 4. So what you want to basically do is try and find the commonality here. Like this website here, again, in November, 4th of November, exact same date as the previous site that we looked at. Both these websites, they actually started ranking early November, and they've jumped up since then. So they were positions 5 and 6, and now they're positions 4 and 5, so they've just kind of jumped up. So what I would be doing here is analysing to see what these guys actually have. Same goes with this one. This is a YouTube video, so maybe you might want to ignore any YouTube. But any websites that actually have a commonality, like for example those two websites, try and find whether it is the content that's winning, whether they have got really good internal links, maybe they've got good topical authority. That's what I would basically be analysing across those websites and trying to pinpoint what my site doesn't have. Let's say if my website has went down since November, I would basically be trying to analyse that. But like what I mentioned before, and like what Google's actually said, is wait 1 week after the core algorithm update. That's what I also do as well, and see what kind of websites have went up, what kind of websites have gone down. Don't also just look at your industry. Look at other industries. Like, for example, if you're in travel, look at some e-commerce stores. Look at some, for example, CBD. Look at some gambling sites, right? Try and figure out a commonality across the entire web. That's literally all I basically do, as sad as that sounds. So then we've got review your top pages and queries, assess how they are ranking before and after the core update. So if you have dropped from position 2 to position 4, again, like what I mentioned, there's no need to take drastic action. This might also be a temporary thing as well. Google is notoriously known for testing websites, especially if you've only dropped a few positions. If you've had a large drop, let's say position 4 to 29, you're going to need to do what Google likes to call a deeper assessment, and let's see what they actually recommend for a deep assessment. So take a closer look at your site as a whole and try to be objective. You might also ask others that you trust that are unaffiliated with your site. Although a lot of SEOs like to disagree with Google, this is actually a really good point. A lot of people are very, very touchy when it comes to their own website. So when they're analysing their own website, they're like, yes, this website's great. This is the best piece of content there is. But if you were to give it to, let's say, your brother or your mum or your sister or whoever, and if they were to take a look at it, they're probably going to have a completely different set of eyes, and they will tell you, no, this is bad content, or it's formatted poorly, or the website's slow, so on and so forth. And as soon as you actually start to open it up and actually get the feedback in, you will then be able to have a hit list of tasks to actually improve your site. Evaluate the pages that were most impacted. Look closely at these to understand how these pages may perform against self-assessment questions. For example, there may be other pages on the web that are doing a better job of helping the searcher. So there are a lot of self-assessment questions that you can ask yourself. So does the content provide the original information? Does the content provide a substantial or complete or comprehensive description of the topic, so on and so forth? So ask yourself all of these questions if you have been slapped, basically, if you've went from position 4 to position 29. Then you've got the things to keep in mind when making changes. So quick fixes, like removing some page elements because you heard it was bad for SEO. Instead, focus on making changes that make sense for users. So I see this a lot, and people say, oh, you need to remove your table of contents, for example, or, oh, you need to remove your sidebar, right? Is that actually going to help the user? Like, table of contents, for example, I think it actually helps the user, so don't just randomly remove a table of contents because somebody said so on LinkedIn. Um, just bear that in mind. Consider how you can improve your content in meaningful ways. So one piece of advice that I can give you guys lately, some bigger brands have also started to be like more omnipresent. So for example, if you are able to do a video about your content, a video backing up your actual blog article. Let's say you've recently you've got a travel website and you've recently went to Bali, right? If you can actually record yourself in Bali to support your actual blog content, guess what? It's more dwell time on your website and people will actually enjoy that. Your visitors to your website will enjoy that. Let's say, for example, if you are a law firm, right, and you provide law as an actual service, if you are able to talk about law, about some really obscure law that's just come into play because the government's changed, for example, if you can write that as a blog article and also do a video on it, guess what? That's going to be a really good piece of content. Same goes with like even my blogs, right? I don't just write 6,000 word articles. I actually back it up with images because, again, I feel like images help. I back it up with videos. I've got images throughout the content. I highlight certain pieces because certain pieces throughout this content, I feel like it's very important for the user to actually read and digest. I've got bullet points, I've got images, I've got block quotes, I've got infographics. What else have I got? I've got FAQs for each section, right? I'm always trying to make certain of, okay, my reader has read this 500 word piece of content here. What kind of questions would they actually have after reading this block of content? And I always try to back that up. So just think of like certain pieces like that. Deleting content is a last resort, and I've also mentioned this in my blog article here. Should you prune or optimize a page from your site, right? And I've mentioned this. This does look like a very long-winded image, right? But if you go all the way down here, I have obviously mentioned like 410 and then deleting certain pages. But that should only be done as kind of like a last resort. So again, it's good to see that I'm actually aligning with Google. And how long does it take to see an effect in search results? So if you've made improvements, it may take some time to see effect in search results. I'm going to not read this because based off of my experience, if you've been massively impacted, it tells me that there's something wrong with your website, whether it's a technical issue, whether it's a content issue, whether it's an internal linking issue, whatever the case may be. So if your website has went from position 4 to position 29 or 35 or whatever, right, you're probably going to need to fix a lot of things, and it might take one core algorithm update for you to essentially bounce back. If you've only went from position 2 to position 4, you can very quickly regain those spots by building better links, or it might be just slight technical SEO issues. So that's been my video on the December core algorithm update in 2024. It's literally just come 10 days before Christmas, or 12 days before Christmas. Hopefully it doesn't impact you guys too much over the Christmas period, and I hope that you guys see some positive results. But if you guys do want a growth strategy call, maybe you guys want me to get a second set of eyes on your website, check out carriers-com, fill in the contact form, and I will be in touch. Thank you for watching.